Hey, today we're going to be making a tutorial for BlueJam, a fantastic community music organisation in Penrith, and they have a new strand called BleepJam, which is all about electronic music, and we're promoting the events that are coming up at that. And to help them do that, we're going to make a little tutorial. I thought I'd make a little drum groove for you, show you some tricks, how to put together a nice little beat with a fast workflow and lots of variation to help you get started with your tracks. Okay, first of all, we're going to load up a drum kit on our first MIDI track over here. So if we go down to drums in Live's browser, and the drums will come up here, we're going to take an 808 core kit and drag it onto the first MIDI track. There we go, that's our instrument loaded up. We're going to click in this first clip slot here, just underneath the 808 core kit, and when we do that, the device window becomes a clip window and opens up a clip into which we can start inputting our drum groove. Okay, I'm going to start. Now, when you're putting a drum groove together for the first time, there's a couple of key rules that can help you really make safe, good drum grooves without too much wobbliness. We're going to put a kick drum, or a bass drum, as it's now called in Live 11, on beat 1, a snare, layered with a hand clap on beat 2, and the same on beat 4. And that gives us this to start off with. Okay, often with drum grooves you get a bit of a question on the kick and an answer on the snare, then another question on the kick and an answer on the snare. So we're going to put another kick or a couple of kicks in this section here between the two snares. And what's quite nice here is if you put a kick in and then just experiment with where it goes, just listen to it a few times, just move it around until you've got something you like. So that's a bit straight, so let's see if we can get it a bit more syncopated. Okay, I quite like that. Let's see if we can add another one. Okay, I like that, so we'll stick with that there. Okay, brilliant. So we've got our basic kick and snare pattern going on there. So first of all, we're going to add some hi-hats to that, and we're going to press B on our keyboard to turn our mouse into a little pen tool. And if we've done that, we can easily draw on loads of notes much more quickly. So I'm going to put in 16s on the hi-hat, called 16s because there's 16 of them in a bar. Okay, fantastic. So what we're going to do, we're going to use some of Live's cool new functions that came out with Live 11, which came out at the beginning of 2021. And we're going to put some variation on that hi-hat to make it sound a little bit more interesting, I suppose. So there's two things we can mess with. We can mess with the velocity, so how loud it is, and we can mess with the chance. Will it happen or not? Okay, so if I click on the hi-hat, it selected all my hi-hats right the way across the whole bar. I'm going to take the velocity and I'm just going to randomize it a little bit. So up here, there's a randomize function, and it can go all the way up to 127, but we're just going to go down to about sort of 4 or 5, hit randomize, you'll notice all these velocities will now vary a little bit. Brilliant. So they're all now a little bit varied, and also we can put a little bit of a range on them. So every time that note comes round, it will play. Won't just play the velocity it says, it'll play a velocity within that range. So it'll sound a little bit more human because there's some variety going on there. Brilliant. Cool and excellent. And just to give it a little more interest, we're going to take the chance and just drop it down a little bit and also give that a bit of randomization too. So now some of those hi-hats won't play. Cool, just makes our beat sound a little bit more interesting. Okay, we can do a similar trick with the bass drum and with the snare. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some extra bass drums in. I'm going to put a bass drum on every beat where there isn't already a bass drum, and I'm also not going to put any bass drums on the actual beats themselves, on the one, the two, the three, or the four. Now to help us do this and add some variation, I'm going to sneakily put it on the rim shot to start with. So I'm going to go back to my pencil tool and just put what will be kick drums in a minute. I'm going to put them on the rim shot instrument at the moment. So there they are. There's none on the beats, there's none where the kick drums are, and there's none where the snare drums are, which are on the beat. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing with the randomization. I'm going to click on all those what will be kick drums in a minute. I'm going to click in the velocity. I'm going to take them down quite a long way, give them a bit of randomization, give them a bit of velocity range, and then I'm going to also take their chance down. I'm going to take this down really quite a long way, down to about sort of 9 or 10%, bit of randomization on them. Okay, and now I've changed them all with given them some randomization. I'm just going to drag them all down onto my kick drum. So now when we play this, you'll hear little ghost kick drum notes coming out between the actual main kick drum beats. Yeah, you get those extra little kick drums happening sort of randomly, just to make the groove sound a little bit more interesting. Okay, excellent. We're going to do the same thing with the snare drum. Get some little ghost notes going on the snare drum. I'm going to hit B to get my pencil tool. I'm going to draw in some snares, not on where there's already a snare drum, and probably not where there's a kick drum. But that's not a rule. You can do that to taste. Okay. So now I'm going to select all those notes. I'm going to take down the velocity. I'm going to randomize the velocity, give it a bit of range as well. I'm going to take down the chance of those snares happening, probably a little bit more often than the kick drum or the bass drum. Give it some randomization, and then I'm going to move all those down onto the snare drum channel. Okay, on the snare drum track. Now here's our groove. So you can hear all those little ghost snare notes happening. Excellent. So if you decide you want them happening a little bit more often, there's still a little thing you can make it. You can take them more often, but it's harder to take them less often. So because the actual snare drums can't get any more than 100%, you can take that and just eke it up, and it won't affect the two main snare drum beats because they're already at 100. If you wanted to take it down, you could take it down, but you'd have to remember to put those two main snare drum beats back up to 100, which wouldn't be too tricky. Okay? Excellent. So let's just add one more variation. We're going to duplicate that loop. So at the moment it's a 1-bar loop. We're going to come over here and we're going to press our duplicate button. And now it's a 2-bar loop. And we're just going to make one little change. We're going to sneak in an open hi-hat somewhere near the end of the second bar. We're going to take out the closed hi-hat that's happening at the same time, because you don't want an open hi-hat and the closed hi-hat sounding together. And because we want that open hi-hat to be cut off by this closed hi-hat here, I'm going to just take the chance of that closed hi-hat happening up to 100. So it will always cut off this open hi-hat. Excellent. So now we've got a drum groove happening that's a nice funky groove, but it's got some variation happening that's a little bit random, so it sounds a little bit more human, like a human drummer. To program that would have taken quite a long time, but using these chance tools in Live 11, they're now in there in Live 11, we can make that happen quite quickly. So it's all about a quick workflow as well. Okay, one quick little extra thing that we can put on that's quite nice. And to spice up our drum groove, we can stick a beat repeat on it. So we go over here into Live's browser, click on audio effects, and find the beat repeat, and drop it down here. Now the beat repeat, funnily enough, will capture a bit of our beat and repeat it. The bit it captures, the bit of the beat it captures is determined by the offset button. So I'm going to stick it somewhere between just before the second beat. It's on the last 16th of the first beat. We're putting it there. The grid tells you how quick the repeats will be, so it's going to repeat in semiquavers at the moment. That's just to hear it. Actually, let's play it on the beginning of the beat so you can hear it capturing the kick drum. Okay, the length of time it does it is determined by the gate, so if we turn the gate up, it'll catch it for longer. Awesome. So we're going to nudge the offset to the fourth semiquaver of the first beat. We're going to give it a bit of decay, so as it catches, it gets a bit quieter. We're going to turn the volume down. This is the volume just of the bit that's captured by the beat repeat, so it won't be so intrusive over the beat. Okay, now to make it slightly more exciting, we're going to turn up the grid to 30 seconds, so it plays a really fast little hi-hat. Okay, now happening all the time might be a little bit much, so we're going to put the chance down to about 60%, so it only happens about 60% of the time. Okay, and we're going to duplicate that, so we're going to click on it, press Command or Control D to duplicate, and we're going to put it at a different port in the bar, and maybe turn the chance down a little bit more, make it a little bit longer. So we've got two instances of the beat repeat happening. Capturing that nicely, brilliant. If we turn up the variation, it'll make the type of beat repeat that happens more random. So the grid might just be 30 seconds. It might be really fast like that. And that just adds more variation to a beat. Fantastic. Hopefully that's been helpful. Let's stop that. It's a quick little tutorial to help you make interesting drum grooves quite quickly. So the point of that is it's a really speedy workflow to get some interesting drum grooves going. And if you're like me, I always like to start making tracks with drum grooves, so I find it really helpful to have a nice quick way in to making some good drum grooves. Excellent. Thank you very much. Cheers.